My name is Amma. I am telling you this because even an old river learns new paths after rain. The morning after the harvest dance, the world smelled of ash and stew, and the air still held a little music. I stood in our yard with the gourd bank in my hands. It was light. Too light. All the careful weight we had fed it was gone, like birds up from a tree at once. I shook it gently. The string rasped my palm, the old calabash skin smooth from years of touching. A hollow sound answered me. My throat felt tight as if I had swallowed a handful of sand. Our savings had been a slow song, coin after coin, week after week. Now the song had stopped in the middle of a note. I looked up. The sky was pale just before the sun becomes brave. Smoke drifted like soft ribbon from our small kitchen. I could hear a neighbor's baby start to cry and then settle. 2 goats nosed at the fence, hopeful for peels. Beyond our yard, the fields lay in wide, neat lines, brown and gold, the harvest stacked like sleeping travelers. The mango tree near our door shook itself in the breeze and let fall one leaf, then another. The leaf turned once in the air and lay still. Inside the house, the floor was scattered with a few paper napkins and the edges of plantain skins. The smell of pepper soup had settled into the clay walls. I stepped past the bench and saw Kofi, my husband, sitting on a low stool. He looked like a man who had walked a long way without shoes. He rubbed his thumb over the same spot on his palm, over and over. "Kofi," I said. My voice wanted to run, but I told it to walk. "Where is the gourd's weight?" He did not answer right away. His eyes lifted to mine, then slid away toward the open door and the morning beyond. "Amma," he said softly, as if the word might break. I wanted to give the village joy. The harvest was good. The drums needed to speak. My uncle's smile, he stopped and swallowed. He has not smiled for days. Last night he did. I wanted to be a man who opened his hands. I stood very still. The ground under my feet felt steady, but inside a small boat rocked. "And the roof we planned?" I asked. I kept my tone even. "And Kojo's school fees?" He breathed out. "I will work," he said. "I will carry timber by the river. People will remember our party and help me find work. I will mend this." I looked at the gourd bank again. A crack ran along its side, a thin line, not new but long held. The gourd had held more than coins. It had held plans. It had held quiet. I set it on the bench, not roughly, and sat beside it. "You did not ask me," I said. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. "No," he said. "If I asked, you would warn me. You would say, 'Wait, keep the money for the roof, keep it for school.' Your warning is not wrong. But my ears were full of the drum. I wanted to be generous without a long talk." He was not angry. He was not loud. He was tired and proud and ashamed, all mixed. The way dry leaves and green leaves pile together before someone sweeps. I let the quiet be a little while. The house, the yard, the tree, the waking day, they all held us in a soft, honest light. When I spoke, my voice surprised me. It was calm. "I am not against joy," I said. "I danced last night. You saw me? I love the drum. It reminds me I have feet. But our savings were not yours alone. They were ours. A promise is a kind of rope. You cut it without telling me." He flinched, but he did not look away. "I know," he said. "I did wrong." He reached out a hand toward mine, then let it fall back to his knee, as if he did not know where to set it. I stood and moved to the doorway. The sun had climbed a little. The light fell in a wide band across the yard floor, showing dust in the air, small, shining. I breathed in the smell of damp earth near the water jar. Behind me, the house clicked as it cooled. I heard a whisper of cloth and turned. Amina, our neighbor, was at the fence. She held a bucket and a small bundle of herbs. "Morning, Amma," she said. "I have mint." The market woman had too much. "Will you take some?" I nodded. "Thank you." My voice was steady. She stepped through the gate, set the bucket down, and touched my elbow. Her eyes were soft and strong at the same time. "You have the gourd," she said quietly. It was not a question. "Yes," I said. She looked at me, then passed me toward the stool where Kofi sat. "Do you need a listener now or later?" she asked. Later, I said. Now I need to sweep, she nodded. Sweep, she said. Sweeping can sort the heart. She put the herbs in my hand and left, her sandals making small sounds. I went to the kitchen corner and took the broom. I swept the floor, the dust, the bits of paper, the small rice that had escaped bowls. The broom's dry sound pressed a rhythm into the morning. With each pull, my breath found a shape. I did not count, but the act itself counted for me. Kojo, our son, came out rubbing sleep from his eyes. His hair stood up in little hills. He held a small wooden top in his hand. Mama, he said, did we have a big dance? Yes, I said. Did you sleep through the big drum? I heard it in my dream, he said. It chased the goats and they danced. He spun his top on the floor. It hummed in a neat circle, steady, then wobbled, then fell. He laughed, picked it up, and spun it again. Sometimes life is that simple. Spin, hum, wobble, rest. Then spin again. I made porridge. The pot made small breathy sounds as it simmered. I stirred with a wooden spoon. The steam rose and softens the face. I added a pinch of salt, then a little honey we had saved. The taste was simple and kind. I set the bowls on the table and called Kofi. He came and sat. He looked at Kojo, then at me, then at the bowl. He ate, not fast, not slow. When we finished, he stood and said, I will tidy the yard. His voice was careful. He took the basin and began to gather plates from where people had left them. I washed the bowls. The water cooled my hands. The work was like prayer when you do not know what words to say. Outside, Kofi stacked chairs. The chairs scraped softly. The scraping was like a question. I did not answer it yet. By midday, the yard looked like itself again. The path from our gate to the mango tree was clear. The sun made the leaves glow from behind, green like glass. The air had that heavy warmth it gets before the dry season changes its mind. A hawk turned and turned in the far blue. I took a cloth and wiped our small table until it reflected light. I needed to move. I tied my wrapper tight and wrapped my headscarf, then lifted the empty gourd. I wanted to bring it with me, to remember the weight of this moment. I told Kojo to play in the shade and told Kofi I was going to the market. Do you need me to come? He asked. No, I said. I need to hear my own feet for a while. The path to the market runs beside the well, then between the cassava fields and the old graves, then under the wide arm of the baobab. The baobab is the oldest thing near us. It has watched children become elders, and elders become stories. Its bark looks like the hands of someone who has worked and still has work to do. When the sun is strong, its shade lies like a large, sleeping animal. I paused under it and touched the trunk. It felt cool, patterned under my palm. You have seen worse, I whispered. Help me walk. A small wind ran up the trunk and made the leaves answer. At the market, the world was a bright, many-voiced thing. Women called greetings, their voices warm as food. A man adjusted a stack of basins. A child trailed her mother with a string tied to her wrist. The spice seller's stall smelled of pepper and cloves. The fish seller's stall smelled of river and salt and metal. I bought oil, salt, and 2 ripe tomatoes. The seller wrapped them in paper and tied the packet with a thin string. You look like you slept and did not sleep, she said, her eyes kind but sharp. I am carrying thinking, I said. It was true, she nodded once. Do it well. My father said, think long, walk slow. Speak clear. On my way home, I saw the headmistress from the school. She was near the cloth stall, holding up a length of bright blue fabric, checking for flaws. She saw me and smiled. Amma, she said. Will Kojo be back next term? Yes, I said, steady. We are getting ready. Good, she said. He listens with his whole face, she laughed. He makes me feel like every word I say is a bird he wants to catch. She folded the cloth and moved on, and the word good stayed with me like a small white stone in my pocket. I passed the baobab again. This time 2 elders sat under it talking, Baba Kwaku and Mama Essie. They were not in council. They were speaking of the weather. I could tell by the way they looked up at the sky between phrases. They saw me and smiled. Amma, they said. Walk well. Walk well, I answered. I wanted to stop and say everything. But I did not. Not yet. The time for talking is also a kind of season. It arrives when it is ripe. Back at home, the afternoon had softened. The sun had swung over and the yard was divided, half gold, half gentle shade. I gave the goats peels and a little crushed cassava. They chewed, their jaws moving in steady, patient circles. Patience looks like that sometimes, like a goat in the afternoon, willing to make the most of small grass. Kofi came to the door. He had washed his face and changed his shirt. He looked younger in the new shirt and older in the face. He put his hand on the door frame. "Amma," he said and paused. "Are you still angry?" I took a breath. The answer was not one word. "I am sad," I said. "I am afraid. I am also able to see you. I know you are not a thief who came in the night. You are my husband who made a choice that did not include me. That is the truth." He nodded, biting his lip. "When I was a boy," he said, "I saw a man give a feast after he sold a big basket of yams. He was praised for weeks. I thought, that is what men do. They give and people clap and then everyone knows their name." I think that thought stayed with me like a seed I did not know I had planted. "Seeds grow," I said. "They do not ask us if we want them or not. The ones we water grow best." I set the gourd between us. We watered this gourd with coins because we wanted a roof. That was our plan. "This time you watered applause." He winced. I wished my words could hold his hand while they corrected him. "Sometimes they can, sometimes they cannot." He stepped closer. "What will we do?" he asked. He was not giving orders. He was asking for guidance. That mattered. I turned the gourd in my hands. My fingers found the small crack again. "We will not fight each other," I said. "That is the first thing. We will not turn this into a war in our bed. We will call the elders. We will ask the council to hear us. If we found our trouble in the open, we will bring our repair into the open too. We will not hide and get smaller." His eyes went wide, then settled. "The council?" he said. "Under the baobab?" "Yes," I said. "They test truth. They do not throw stones. They are like a sieve that catches lies and lets water pass." He looked at the yard, at the path, at the tree beyond our fence. He drew a long breath. "All right," he said. "I will come. I will speak." He swallowed. "I will accept what they ask of me." He did not say those words because he wanted to look noble. He said them because he had tasted the shape of emptiness and did not want it for his house. Kojo ran out then, laughing, with his top spinning, rolling toward Kofi's foot. Kofi bent, caught it just as it began to wobble, and sent it spinning again with a flick. Kojo shouted with delight. The top hummed. The hum filled the space between us like a little bridge. That evening, Amina came with her mother, Auntie Rafi. They brought fried plantains and a small bowl of groundnut stew. We sat on the veranda. The lantern light made a warm circle around us. Moths tapped at the glass, soft, soft, as if asking permission to join. Auntie Rafi's hair is gray, and she has a way of holding a bowl that makes you believe every meal matters. She sipped stew and nodded to herself, then looked up. "My mother used to say," she began, and smiled at the way we all leaned closer. "She used to say, when a calabash cracks, you can throw it away, or you can stitch it with patience and give it new work." She was a midwife with hands like baskets. She stitched more than calabashes. "What do you think we should do?" I asked, though I had already decided. What I wanted now was not instruction. It was blessing. "Call the council," she said. "Let the ground under the baobab hold your words. Let other ears listen. It is good when a house does not carry grief alone." She looked at Kofi, not unkindly. "Let your ears listen all the way, not just until you hear your own name." Kofi nodded. "Yes, Auntie," he said. We ate plantains and stew. The sweetness and the salt made their old, reliable marriage on our tongues. A breeze lifted the edge of the cloth on the table. The night was not yet cold, but it was thinking about it. When they left, Amina squeezed my hand. "I will walk with you to the baobab in the morning," she said. "People talk to me easily. I can help them talk to the elders too." "Thank you," I said. Gratitude made my voice warm. After we cleaned the bowls and set the house in order, I lay on our mat and watched the ceiling. The thatch was old. There were small places where light might slip in when the sun was fierce. The tin roof we had planned would hold the light outside and the rain above. I put my hand on the mat near Kofi's and did not touch him. We were 2 islands with a quiet water between, waiting for a bridge. I could not sleep at once. My mind walked up and down the day. It stepped on all the stones. It counted the bowls. It counted the coins that were no longer here. When I slipped toward sleep, a thought moved through me like a small lantern. You are not alone. That thought was like a cool cloth on my forehead. I slept then, and my dreams were simple. I walked a path. A tree made shade. I sat, and someone sat beside me. We did not talk. We just sat. Before dawn, I woke. The world was dark blue, the kind that comes just before bright. Roosters tested their voices near and far. I rose and went outside. The air was soft and wet. I could smell night still, and something else, that small, clean smell that means morning is almost ready. I lit the small stove to heat water. The flame had that hopeful sound fire makes in a quiet house. I washed my face and hands. The water answered my skin with cool. I braided my hair away from my face. I wrapped my scarf, tied my wrapper, and stood straight. When I am troubled, standing straight is a small comfort. It reminds the body what it can do. Kofi woke and came out. His hair was uncombed. His eyes were puffy. You are going now, he asked. Yes, I said. The elders greet the day early. They like to begin when the shade is still long. I will meet you there, he said. I will wash and follow. All right, I said. It pleased me that he would come without the dragging of feet. Kojo stirred inside, rolled over, and snored a little. Children sleep like full sacks of grain, heavy and honest. I watched him for a moment. I tucked the cloth near his shoulder. Then I took the gourd and stepped into the pinkening morning. Amina was waiting at the gate, a small bundle under her arm. I brought bread, she said. It is easier to be brave with food in the pocket. We walked along the path. The ground was damp with dew, and our sandals picked up a little wetness. The fields, quiet in the evening, now had a kind of whisper in them. The small movements of waking insects, the small breaths of plants beginning to drink light. A bird flew low and fast across our path, a streak of brown and white. We did not speak for a while. Our breath matched. Our feet matched. Sometimes that is better than words. As we came near the baobab, we could see the light under it, the way the morning gathered in a pool there before it spilled everywhere else. A few elders were already seated. A broom leaned against the trunk. A clay water pot stood on a small stool. A thin ribbon of smoke from someone's pipe drew a line in the air and then faded. I could smell the pipe sweet and woody like an old song. Good morning, I said. My voice did not tremble. Amina's presence was a small hand at my back. Good morning, child, said Mama Isi. She is older than my mother would have been if my mother had lived. Her voice is low and strong, like a drum that does not need to be struck hard to be heard. Sit. The morning is young, but we will not chase it down. We will walk with it. I sat on a low stool. The gourd was in my lap. I rested both hands on it. Kofi was not there yet. That was all right. I did not want to fill his mouth with my words before he came. I wanted to lay my own words down first, clear and true. What brings you? Asked Baba Kwaku. His face is long and calm, the kind of face you want to tell things to, because it does not jump like a frightened goat when it hears a hard truth. My husband gave a great party last night, I said. He used our savings. He did not ask me. We had plans for a roof before the rains. We had plans for school fees. We had plans for a bag of rice to carry us through the lean time. This morning I held this gourd and it was light. I am here to ask for help to carry this with truth. I am here to ask for the kind of justice that mends. I did not cry. Tears had come earlier, in small private drops, when I had swept, when I had washed the bowls. Now they did not come. I felt like a pot that has found the right heat and sits steady, making food without boiling over. We hear you, said Mama Essie. She turned her eyes toward the path. We will also hear your husband. Justice does not wear one eye. She looked at Amina. You will stay? I will, Amina said. I will listen. We waited. Waiting can be a test and also a kindness. The wind moved the leaves above us in waves. A child ran by, laughed, then remembered herself and walked. A woman passed with a basin on her head. She nodded and kept going. The world, even with your trouble in it, will not stop being the world. I have learned this many times. It comforts me and humbles me at once. Kofi came then. He had washed. His shirt was clean. He looked like a man going to ask for work. He bowed his head to the elders and to me. He sat opposite, not too close, not too far. We are here, said Baba Kwaku. We will hear. We will think. We will speak. But first, we will drink water. He lifted the clay pot and poured water into a small cup and passed it to me. The cup was cool and damp. I drank. The water tasted like earth and morning and care. He passed a cup to Kofi, then to Amina. Then he took one himself. We all drank. It is a simple thing to drink water together, but it changes the air. Now, said Mama Essie, setting the cup on the ground. Amma has spoken. Kofi, you will speak. Speak plainly. Do not be afraid of short sentences. Kofi looked at his hands and then at the elders. I took our savings and made a feast, he said. I wanted to be generous. I wanted to be seen as open-handed. My uncle is ill, and I wanted to give him a night of drum and laughter. I did not ask Amma, because I knew she would say to save the money for the roof and school fees. She would be right. I did it anyway. He breathed out. I was wrong. I have said sorry to her, but sorry is not coins. It is not boards for a roof. He looked at me. It was not a challenge. It was a showing. The elders were quiet a moment. The quiet was not empty. It was full of thinking. A bird called from far off. 2 notes, like a question, and then an answer that did not know it was an answer yet. Thank you, said Baba Kwaku. We will sit with this during the morning. Others will arrive. They will add their eyes. The sun will make its way. Do not be in a hurry. Some knots are not untied by pulling fast. He rose and walked a few steps, stretching his back. He talked softly with another elder who had arrived, a thin man with a cane who was still strong in his mind. They gestured. They tilted their heads. They watched us without staring. My heart slowed. I had handed my heavy thing to hands that knew how to carry. As we waited for more council members, Amina leaned toward me and whispered, Do you remember the old proverb? Truth is like oil. It rises to the top. We will let it rise. No need to stir hard. I remember, I said. My grandmother used to say that when soup looked strange and we were not sure if it would be saved, she would tilt the pot just so, and the oil would show a bright ring. Then she would add a pinch of salt and a breath of thyme. Then suddenly, the taste would be right. Before the council began its careful work, which would come later, the morning had its own small weavings. A woman came to ask if the school compound could borrow a bench for a meeting. A boy brought a message from his mother to Mama Essie about medicine for a cough. Life kept laying small strings between us all. Kofi shifted on his stool. He looked at the ground and at the faces. He was not a man used to being this still. It made a new shape on him. Calm is not a shirt all men have worn. He tried it, and it suited him more than I expected. The sun rose higher. The shade moved. Someone dragged the stool with the water pot a little to keep it in the cool. The ground smelled warm now, like baked clay. The drum from the distance of the church thumped twice, then stopped. A cart passed, its wheels thumping over a root. The baobab did what it always does. It held us. When more elders had arrived and the circle was complete, when the morning's first tasks had been chewed, the council lifted its eyes toward us again. We will begin after the muezzin's call, said Mama Essie. We do not need to hurry past anyone's prayer. So we waited, and the call came, gentle and wide, like a shawl thrown over the village for a moment. After we breathed, and the elders arranged their stools, someone brought a small calabash rattle and set it on the ground between us, a way to mark the turns of speech. Kofi, said Baba Kwaku, we will not make you stand yet. Sit. But listen as if your legs were standing. Amma, we will ask you questions. They will not be to find fault. They will be to find the shape of the truth. I am ready, I said. It felt true. Before last night, he asked, how did you and your husband keep your money? Who held the gourd? Who counted? I held the gourd, I said. We counted together sometimes, but often I dropped the coins in. We would talk about the roof, 2 sheets of tin each month. We would talk about school fees. We would talk about extra groundnuts to sell. We made a plan for rain and for dry. Did Kofi object? Asked an elder I did not know well, a woman with silver rings in her ears. Hers was a soft voice, but it pulled like a net with good knots. No, I said. He liked the plan. He added to it sometimes. He said he wanted a door that did not creak. He said he wanted a shelf for Kojo's books. Do you mind if I ask something? Kofi said. He lifted his hand as if he were a boy in school. How did you feel last night at the party, before you knew the gourd was empty? I thought. The question was not to trap me. It was to open something between us. I felt light, I said. I felt the drum in my legs. I saw Auntie Raffi dance and it gave me joy. I thought the food was plenty and the laughter was sweet. I also had a small twitch in my mind. I wondered, who is paying for this? I did not think fast enough to ask. I thought the money might be from your uncle's brother in the city. We let that sit. It was a true answer. It was not meant to win. It was meant to be a clear stone in the path. A young mother stepped into the shade, bouncing a baby. She stood near the edge listening. People would come and go all morning. They would listen. Their ears made a kind of roof, too. Do you know, said Mama Essie, why we have these councils in the open under a tree? She did not ask us to answer. Because the tree has seen many things, and its leaves do not judge. Because the ground reminds us to keep our feet. Because the wind carries away excess heat. Because when we are finished, we can all see the sky and remember that we are small under it. I felt something inside me soften. The heat I had been carrying cooled just enough to be bearable. We will call this council to order after the sun moves 1 hand's width, said Baba Kwaku, holding his palm sideways to measure. Until then, rest. Amma, walk if you need to. Kofi, drink water. Amina, sit with your friend. We will test truth soon. Not with fire. With patience. We did as told. I stood and walked a slow circle around the baobab. I touched the bark again, this time with my fingers flat, as if greeting a trusted friend. I could feel the life there, quiet but firm. I thought of my grandmother. I thought of the time she told me, when the sky is too heavy for your roof, call your neighbors. Do not become a closed room. I smiled at the memory before I knew I was smiling. Amina joined me on my slow walk. Your face is steady, she said. It took all of me to make it so, I answered. That is how steadiness works, she said. It is a house built on small stones. We sat again. The sun moved its hand's width. The elders nodded. The council would begin. My story was stepping into a larger mouth. I held the gourd on my knees like a small, quiet drum. I was ready to let it speak. The council began when the sun reached that measured place on the elder's hand. The circle was set. Stools, a mat, the calabash rattle resting on the earth between us like a small heart. The shade from the baobab was wide and cool. People stood at the edges, careful and quiet, as if near a newborn. We were not there to punish. We were there to keep something from breaking further. Baba Kwaku lifted the rattle and let it sound once. The beads made a clean, dry rain. We will mark each turn, he said. We will listen all the way. Words will be short and strong. No one will be pushed. No one will hide. He nodded to Mama Essie. She looked at me and then at Kofi. We begin with truth, she said. Amma has laid hers down. Kofi has answered with his first words. Now we test the path, step by step, so no one stumbles later and blames the path. She pointed to the drummer from the night before, who stood near the edge of the shade, hands folded. Come, she said. He came forward and bowed his head to the elders and to us. He was young, with kind eyes, and the leather of his drum still smelled of smoke and sweat. He lifted both hands, showing them open, then spoke. Careful. Kofi paid me the day before last, he said. He came with a cloth bag. He said, play as if the sky has no weight. Play so even the tired remember their feet. He asked for extra hours. He paid fair. He did not bargain me down. Did he say whose money it was? Asked Mama Essie. No, said the drummer. He said, "It is a feast for the village." Thank you, said Baba Kwaku. He set a small pebble in a shallow gourd. The sound was soft. He looked toward the cook, a woman with a scarf tied high and laughter lines even now around her eyes. She stepped forward. I made jollof, she said. I made pepper soup. I fried plantain. Kofi came with the same cloth bag. He counted in my hand. I asked if I should make less. He said, make more. Let leftover food become a story. He smiled, but his eyes looked past me. Did you press him? Asked the elder with the silver earrings. No, the cook said. I offered to make a smaller pot. He waved it away. Another pebble in the gourd. The meat seller came, smelling faintly of smoke and salt. The lantern man came with his rope burns still fresh. The palm wine tapper who had filled many cups came too. Each told a simple piece. Kofi had arranged it. Kofi had paid. No one had forced him. No one had tricked him. He had chased a kind of praise with our stored coins. While the last witness stepped back, a breeze moved through. The baobab leaves answered with their small applause. The sound felt like the tree was saying, go on. Now the questions turned toward me. It felt fair. You do not test only one wall if you hope to keep a house steady. Amma, said Baba Kwaku. Before this, how did you speak about money in your house? Did you allow room for giving? Did you make a plan that had no mourning for joy? I thought before I answered. It is easy to defend yourself too quickly and hide a smaller truth. I did not want to do that. We planned for roof and school, I said. We also set aside small coins for celebration days. Not many, but some. I looked at my hands. I see now that I held those small coins tightly for far-off safety, and sometimes forgot near joy. Kofi glanced up at me. Not to accuse. To thank me for not painting myself in pure white while leaving him in shadow. Have you kept money without saying? Asked the elder woman with the soft voice that pulled like a net. Once, I said. My mother's sister sent me a little for cloth. I did not say for 3 days. I told him then. We bought cloth and salt. We did not fight, I breathed. I am not a saint, but I am careful. Do you scold in public? Asked another elder, this one with a slow smile. No, I said. I hold hard talk for inside the house or for here. That is why I am here, they nodded. Another pebble. The gourd held a small handful now. The sound of the pebbles gathering was steady. Not loud, not a performance. A record, Kofi, said Mama Essie, turning her face to him now. Stand, he stood. His hands were clasped at his waist. His jaw moved once, then stilled. What were you afraid of? She asked. He swallowed. Being called stingy, he said. Being called small-hearted. I was afraid of being a man who folds his hands when others open theirs. I was afraid people would forget me. I wanted to be remembered. By whom? She asked. He blinked. By my uncle, he said. By the young men who raise their hands to greet me. By the elders who call names at meetings. By the boys who watch. Did you want to be remembered by your son? She asked then, her voice even. Kofi closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were wet. Yes, he said, barely above a whisper. I did, but not like this. She let that rest between us. A long, kind silence. It did not accuse. It invited. Does anyone say you cannot give? Asked an elder with a cane, his voice rough and warm like old wood. Or do they say give with sense? With sense, Kofi said. I see it now. We will test one more piece, said Baba Kwaku. He lifted the calabash rattle and shook it gently, then set it down. He reached for a shallow bowl of water and placed it in the middle of the circle. The surface held the sky in a small round mirror. This water is for a simple test, he said. We will lean and speak our names into it. We will say a fault and a promise. We will not preach to the water. We will tell it a truth. He looked at me. Amma. I leaned over the bowl. I could see my face, my scarf, the leaves above me, all mixed. I have feared too much, I said to the water. I have thought safety was the only blanket. I promise to leave space for joy even when we save. The water did not judge me. It trembled with my breath and held my face steady again. "Kofi," said Baba Kwaku. Kofi leaned over the water. His reflection broke a little with his breath, then settled. "I have loved applause," he said. "I let it guide me. I promise to ask before I act with our money. I promise to build praise that does not cost our roof." We were not the only ones. Amina leaned and said, "I have sometimes watched and said nothing. I promise to speak kindly when my neighbor needs a voice." The elders spoke too, each offering a small self-truth and a promise. The bowl was not a magic thing. It was a plain bowl, but it made us hold our words in a way we would remember. When the bowl was set aside, the council moved toward wisdom. It did not sprint. It walked. "We do not whip a house for a cracked pot," said Mama Essie. "We mend the pot and set it where it can still serve." She drew a line in the dust with a stick. "We have 3 tasks: to protect the child, to protect the roof, and to protect the marriage. If we guard only one, the others will fall." She turned a kind but firm eye to Kofi. "You will labor," she said. "You said it yourself. We will make your plan into steps you can climb." The schoolteacher, who had come and was sitting near the back with a small writing slate, moved closer. "I can write names and numbers," he said. "I can keep a ledger that even a tired mind can follow." A hand touched my shoulder. It was Amina. "Let me guard the ledger," she whispered. "My tongue is not loose. My door is open," the elders approved. "Amina will be keeper of quiet truth," said Baba Kwaku. "Each Friday before sunset, Kofi will bring half his week's wage to the ledger. It will not pass through his house first. It will pass from his hand to the book to the council's small box. The other half will feed his home." Kofi's shoulders loosened a little. Relief can look like that, as if the air has made new space in the body. "Yes," he said. "I will do it." "Do not sell the goats," said the elder with the cane. "They are small but steady wealth. Do not break what can still grow because you want to correct fast." "The roof?" I asked, careful. "It is the rain season whispering to us already." "We will hold your coins safe," said Baba Kwaku. "When the ledger shows enough for 2 sheets of tin, we will buy them as a group. No one will be able to call either of you names for it. It will be the village's hands on the ladder." "And the school fees," added the school teacher gently. "We will set a line and a date. We will check the line each week." Now the elders faced the people at the edge of the shade. The ones who had eaten, danced, clapped. "Community," said Mama Isi, and the word itself felt like a woven mat under our feet. "You opened mouths last night. You filled your hands. We do not eat, and then pretend the bowl does not exist. If your plate held that rice, then this week bring a measure of rice to Amma's yard. If your mouth tasted meat, bring beans or cassava. If your feet danced, bring those feet on the roof day. Let no one say, 'This is not my matter.' The party was not only theirs. The mending will not be only theirs." At first there was silence, not the heavy kind, but the counting kind. People were measuring what they could do without hurting their own houses. Then a man I knew only by sight lifted his hand. "I have nails from my cousin in the city," he said. "I will bring them." "I have strong arms for lifting," said a young man with a big laugh, softer now. "And time on Saturdays." "I will bring oil for the soup on roof day," said Auntie Rafi, her voice like a shawl you want on your shoulders. A small child clapped once and then hid behind her mother's cloth. Laughter spread, quiet and gentle, like light across water. "And Kofi," said Baba Kwaku, returning his attention to my husband, who stood steady now, "you will give a thing to the village that is not your money. Your hands will work 1 day each month at the school reading corner. You will carry benches. You will mend a shelf. You will sit and listen to a child read with patience. You ask to be remembered. Be remembered for your steady back and your good ear." Kofi bowed his head. "Yes," he said. "I can do that." "And you will make a public apology?" asked the elder woman with the silver rings. "Not to humiliate you. To make the air clear. At the next gathering, you will stand and say plainly that you took what belonged to your house, and you are putting it back with work and with help. We do not hide our mending when we celebrated our breaking." "I will," he said. I saw his face. Relief and fear and a new kind of peace were all there at once. He would taste humility. It would be good medicine. What of praise? Asked the elder with the cane, leaning forward. It will call your name again. Praise can be a smooth stone in the river. Your foot will slip if you do not watch. What will you do next time it calls? Kofi looked at me, then back at the elders. I will ask my wife, he said. I will wait a day. I will ask again. If the urge is still there after 2 nights of sleep, we will make a plan. And if there is no money set aside, I will not pretend there is. The elders looked satisfied. Good, said Mama Essie. A plan that survives sleep is worth more than a plan born under lanterns. Now the circle turned back to me. And you, Amma? Said Baba Kwaku. What does your forgiveness look like? Not a word only. A shape, I breathed, feeling the answer rise like that proverb's oil. Forgiveness will be my hand on the ladder on roof day, I said. It will be my voice that says thank you when he lays wages down without prompting. It will be my quiet mouth when small gossip blows like dry leaves. It will also be my clear voice if he forgets the plan. I will not keep silence that harms. I will keep a silence that heals. A ripple went through the circle. Agreement is a soft thing. You can hear it if you listen. The schoolteacher drew numbers on his slate and spoke as he wrote. Friday wages, half to ledger. Ledger held by Amina. First tin purchase when the line reaches the cost of 2 sheets. Second purchase when it reaches the next cost. School fees date set for 2 months from today. Check-ins each market day. Signatures or marks, Kofi, Amma, Amina, and elder witness. We wrote our names and marks. Kofi pressed his thumb, the pad darkened by ink, onto the slate's copy sheet. I wrote my name. My hand did not shake. Amina wrote hers with careful letters. Baba Kwaku made a slow, elegant mark, like a small bird sitting. Before we rose, one more question came, unexpected and kind. Where does Joy live now? Asked the elder with the silver earrings. Do not answer with a big talk. Just point. I lifted my hand and pointed at Kojo, who was sitting on the ground nearby, making lines in the dust with a stick, humming to himself as if the earth needed a song to stay awake. Kofi lifted his hand and pointed at the same child, and then, after a small pause, he pointed at me. The elders smiled and nodded. Then guard Joy, said Mama Essie. Do not steal it from each other. Do not crush it under work. A roof is for Joy to live under, not only for keeping rain out. Before the council ended, a final piece of wisdom was laid down, smooth and simple. When spiders unite, they can tie down a lion, said the elder with the cane. We are the threads. Do not break away before the tying is done. They blessed us with their eyes. The calabash rattle sounded once more, a seal as soft as a hand on a shoulder. The council was finished. The day had warmed, but the shade under the baobab still held a fine cool. We stood. My knees had a feeling I know well after long sitting, stiff and sure. Kofi came to my side, not too close, not far. People pressed our hands as we moved out from the circle. Some spoke, some did not. The important thing was not their words, but their faces. Most were open. A few were pinched with other worries. That is all right. No one is required to make your trouble their only thought. Amina walked with us a little way. She carried the slate, wrapped now in cloth, the ledger born into the world like a useful child. I will come by before Friday, she said. We will make a place for the book that is dry and calm. Thank you, I said. The words tasted good. Gratitude does that. On the path home, the sun had moved higher. The fields shimmered with heat. A hawk hung in the air, held by nothing I could see. The world kept being itself even as my life shifted. That steadied me. What will you tell your uncle? I asked Kofi, gentle. The truth, he said. I will tell him I wanted his smile and forgot our roof. I will tell him I found a better way to honor him. Work and a school bench for the child who will read to him on quiet afternoons. That is good, I said. We reached our gate. The yard was as we had left it, but it felt new because we were new inside it. I set the gourd on the table. It looked lighter than before, if that was possible. Kofi touched it with 2 fingers and then drew his hand back, as if the gourd still held a small flame. Do you need to rest? he asked. Let me boil water first, I said. Then I will sit. I wanted to make something ordinary. Ordinary is a rope you can hold when the river runs fast. He brought wood for the fire. I moved through the small space of our kitchen like a woman in her own skin. The kettle sang. Kojo ran in with a wide leaf and said it was a boat. He put the leaf in a basin and blew on it. The leaf moved. He shouted with pleased surprise, then made it go again. Boat, he said proudly. Yes, I said. A good boat. I watched it until it bumped the basin's side and rested there, green and shining. In the afternoon, Kofi's uncle sent for him. I watched him go, his back straight, his steps measured. He did not hurry with the hurry that tries to run away from words. He walked with the slowness that means the words will have time to find their place. While he was gone, I took our 2 sheets from the shelf and shook them out to air. I beat dust from a small rug. I wiped the table. I cleaned things that had not been cleaned in a while, not because dirt was the problem, but because order is a friend that makes your mind sit down. Amina came with a ledger book and a tin box that had once held biscuits. She set them on the table. This is the council's box, she said. I will keep it in my house. When the money comes, we will count together and listen to the sound of the coins falling. That sound will be a promise. We practiced just once, with 3 coins she had brought to test the slot. She dropped them in one by one. The sound was small and real. Kojo clapped. He likes little sounds that say big things. Do you think people will bring rice? I asked. Yes, she said. Not all, enough. What of those who talk? I asked. Not the kind of talk that helps. The kind that stings. She lifted one hand as if weighing a small fruit. Words weigh most when we try to carry them all, she said. Leave most of them on the ground. We ate a simple meal. The stew was thin but flavorful. I sprinkled a little mint from the morning on top and it woke the whole bowl. Small things can do that. A pinch can change a pot. Near sunset, Kofi returned. He set his stool by the door and sat. His face was open. He listened, he said. He did not scold. He said he understood the drum in my chest. He said, let your giving be a sky that holds others, not a storm that blows your own roof away. Then he asked me to sit and talk to him every Sunday afternoon for a month. He said he has things to say about being young and trying to be seen. That is good, I said again. It was my favorite sentence that day. It fit many places. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper. The schoolteacher wrote the lines again here, he said. I brought them home so we can look at them before we sleep. He opened the paper. The lines were neat. Numbers sat in their places as if they had always been waiting there. We looked together. The first number, this Friday. The second, next. The small circles like stepping stones. The mark where the tin would be bought. The mark where school fees would be paid. The place for signatures. The empty space for notes. The order calmed my breath. Will you come with me on Friday? He asked. So our hands dropped the first coins into the box together. Yes, I said. We will both hear the sound. The next day, the village began its part. A boy dropped a small cup of rice at our gate on his way to fetch water. He ran after he set it down, shy, as if kindness were a game of tag. An old man brought a bag of cassava and sat on our bench to rest his back. He told a joke with a slow start and a good finish. And we laughed in the way you do when the day is still full of work, but you find a little shadow to sit in. A woman I barely knew stepped up, set 2 tomatoes on our table and said, "For the soup," then left without waiting for thanks. A group of youths came by and measured the beam across our roofline with a length of twine, serious as builders. Their faces were bright. Help can make a face glow. Not all voices were kind. I heard one at the well say, "If I spent my savings, my wife would have sent me to my mother's house." Another said, "Pride goes before thin porridge." I did not let those words live in me. They came to my door and I did not open. I had a better house to tend. Friday came. The river was high with last week's rain upstream, and Kofi came back with soreness in his shoulders and a quiet look in his eyes that told me he had earned his bread, and something else too. We washed our hands. We called Amina. We set the ledger on the table and the tin box beside it. We lit a small lamp even though the sun had not yet left, because light can be a kind of witness. Kofi counted his coins out. He did not speak while he counted. He did not make a speech. He pushed half forward. Amina wrote the amount and the date. I signed. Kofi pressed his thumb, now a little less dark with ink because he had wiped it too soon. Amina lifted the box lid and dropped the coins in. They sounded like small bells, like rain beginning on a tin roof we did not yet have. We stood and listened. "Thank you," I said to Kofi. 2 words. Enough. He nodded, a short shake. His eyes shone. He took the other half of his wages and set them aside for food. Later, when the porridge bubbled, he held Kojo in his lap and helped him sound out words from a poster the school had given us about washing hands in boiling water. "Soapi," Kofi said. "Soap." "Soap," Kojo said, proud to make the letters into the thing. That night, we lay beside each other like the first night we married. Tired, hopeful, awake, and then asleep. The house was quiet in that deep way that means it has exhaled. The roof above us creaked and settled. I pictured new tin shining in sun, loud in rain. I pictured a ledger, chalk marks growing like careful stitches. I pictured the baobab, holding us all, as it had this morning and as it would tomorrow. The next days had their shape. Kofi rose before light and walked to the river. He came back smelling of wood, sweat, and water. I swept, cooked, and counted. Amina came on Wednesdays with the book, and we sat for a moment and drank tea. She always left a little later than she planned, because talk between friends has a way of making time soft. We faced small tests, too. A man came by and said, smiling in a way that made my skin feel tight, "Another party soon, eh?" Kofi did not smile back. He said, "Yes, when the roof is up and school is paid, you will dance under our tin and the drum will be steady." The man laughed in a different way and passed on. One afternoon, when the heat was at its thickest and even the flies seemed to move slowly, Kofi came into the yard with a limp. A log had slipped. He sat and I could see his ankle swelling. I brought shea butter and rubbed it in slow circles. The skin was hot. My fingers learned its language and answered with care. "I do not feel strong," he said. "You do not need to feel strong," I said. "You need to keep the path. Strength visits those who keep walking." He closed his eyes and let my hands do their quiet work. Outside, a dove called, low and wanting. A child laughed far away. The world stayed near us. At the next village gathering, under the mango trees with lanterns swinging again like small moons, Kofi stood when the moment was right. He did not climb onto a bench. He did not clear his throat to ask for attention. He simply stood in that way a true apology stands, firm, without paint. The drum softened by itself. The circle leaned. "My name is Kofi," he said. "You know me. I used our house's coins to make a party. I did not ask my wife. It was wrong. I wanted applause. It moved me. Now I am mending with work. The council is holding our plan. If you ate with me that night, I thank you for bringing rice or hands to help us raise the roof. If you did not, I thank you for not making sport of us. I will give a day each month at the reading corner. I am learning a better way to be remembered. No one clapped. That would have been the wrong music." They nodded. They went back to their talking and their slow turning under the trees. The world had heard what it needed to hear. When we walked home later, the path was lit by small lanterns left like little stars near the ground. Kofi walked in that straight way again. Kojo slept on my back, his breath warm where my cloth crossed my shoulder. The night smelled of fried dough and smoke and the edge of rain that was not here yet. As we reached our yard, the moon slipped out from behind a cloud. It touched the gourd on our table and made one side of it glow. The crack along its skin showed itself like an old scar. I smoothed my palm over it. It had done its work, poor old thing, all the years we fed it our hope. It had failed us once because we failed it first. Now, even empty, it was teaching. I took a strip of cloth and tied it around the gourd's neck, a small, simple ribbon. "We will not throw you away," I whispered. "We will give you new work. I set a folded paper inside with our plan written in the schoolteacher's hand. The gourd would not hold money again. It would hold the memory of our promise and our repair. Before sleep, Amina's words came back to me in the dark, walking soft across the floor of my mind. Leave most of the heavy words on the ground. Carry the ones that build. I set that near my heart like a warm stone, and fell into a deep, kind sleep, ready for the next small step and the next, which is how big journeys are truly walked. Weeks turned like pages in a careful book. Each Friday, we washed our hands, lit a small lamp, opened the ledger, and listened to the coins fall into Amina's tin box. The sound was simple, like soft rain on a dry path. It grew steady. It became a comfort. Kofi's thumbprint marks lined the page like footfalls across a stream. On the first Monday after the council, Kofi went to the school's reading corner. He carried benches with 2 other men. He fixed a loose board on a shelf. He sat while a boy named Ben read aloud, slow and proud, a story about a river and a fishing boat. When the boy stumbled, Kofi waited. He did not rush him. He used his finger to guide the word and said, "Try again." The boy tried, and the word opened like a small locked door. Kofi's face, when he came home, held something new. "Not applause? Peace. How was it?" I asked. "Good," he said, and the word had weight. A child's voice is a fine drum. It teaches a different rhythm. We kept our days gentle and sure. I rose early to sweep. The broom's sound was a song my hands knew. Kojo fed the goats a little before school and talked to them as if they were brothers who needed advice. The goats chewed and blinked as if they agreed. The market filled and emptied as it always does. The baobab held its shade like a mother holds a baby when the sun is strong. The village kept its promise, too. Rice arrived in small measures, never named, always enough. A sack of cassava leaned against our wall one afternoon with a note, "For your pot." 3 youths came at dusk and measured the roofline with a long string, their faces serious. The man with the box of nails brought it as promised and set it down like a sacred thing. "There are many," he said, and smiled shyly, as if he had brought stars. The second Friday came. Kofi laid his wages on the table. Amina wrote, I signed. The coins fell. We watched the book's line grow. It was slow. It was sure. We were people who could wait now, not with tight teeth, but with open hands. Waiting became a kind of prayer that did not need words. At the end of that week, the schoolteacher stopped by with a new poster. "Letters for the wall," he said. "Let Kojo look while he eats." He stood in our yard and watched the goats for a moment. "They look content," he said. "Content goats make patient people." He smiled and walked on, his sandals whispering the way good cloth whispers. On the 4th Friday, the ledger showed enough for the first 2 sheets of tin. We did not rush. We checked the sum twice. Then, as a small group, Kofi, Amina, the schoolteacher, and I, we walked to the shop that sells building goods. The shopkeeper's son carried the tin to our house on his shoulder, careful not to scratch it. The sheets flashed in the sun, bright and clean. Neighbors paused and nodded as they passed. Some touched the metal with 2 fingers and smiled. Hope has a shine of its own. We set the roof day for the next Saturday after the second 2 sheets were bought. That week, people came by to say what they would bring. A woman offered oil. A man offered a rope. A quiet boy said, "I can stand on the ladder and hold the line with my hands. My hands are good at holding." Kofi's uncle came by and sat with him under the mango. They spoke in low, even voices. I heard laughter. Not loud, just bubbling and kind. When the talk finished, the uncle stood slowly. He put his hand on Kofi's shoulder and said, "Be steady." Then he touched my arm and said, "Be warm." He looked at Kojo and said, "Be curious." Wisdom can be 3 small stones that still hold a big pot. The night before roof day, I cooked pepper soup that dressed the air with ginger and bay leaves. I cleaned our pot until its sides shone. I set out cups. The small lamp made a warm circle on the table. Kofi mended a rope with slow, neat knots. We did not talk much. We did not need to. Words had done their big work already. Now our hands led. Dawn of roof day came cool and clear. The sky was blue like a new shirt. The baobab threw its early shade long and dark across the meeting place, and little by little the village moved. Men and women came to our yard with ropes, hammers, and the kind of laughter that does not waste breath. A boy tapped a bucket rim with a stick to keep time. A baby on a mother's back watched through half-closed eyes, already learning the shape of community without knowing the word. Kofi tied his ankle with a cloth, firm but not tight. He climbed the ladder with care. He looked down once, found my eyes, and nodded. I nodded back and held the ladder. 2 youths lifted the first sheet. It was heavy, but 6 hands and a steady rope made it lighter. They guided it up like a fragile bird. The tin slid into its place with a soft scrape, then settled with a deep, round sound. It felt like a promise taking a seat. Nails went in. The hammer beat a simple dance. The second sheet followed, then the third and the fourth a week later. Midday light rippled across the metal and made it glow. We paused to eat. The soup was bright and hot. Someone added roasted plantains, sweet and smoky. Laughter lay lightly over us. It did not show off. It simply lived there. A small cloud gathered in the afternoon. It was the kind of cloud travelers look at and say, maybe. Then, as we were tying the last corner, drops came. The first few were shy. Tap, 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 then others followed. We stood under the new roof and listened. Tin has a voice. It spoke a full, rich truth. You are covered. The sound filled the yard. Kojo clapped. It is loud and good, he said, eyes wide. We laughed with him. Even Kofi laughed, his head tipped back, the rain making a small edge of brightness along his jaw. We did not run inside. We stood in the doorway and watched the sheeted rain turn the dust to dark earth, smelled the new earth smell, and felt the cool come across our faces. I thought of the old gourd on our table with a ribbon around its neck, holding our plan like a quiet guard. It had not become firewood. It had been given new work. My chest loosened, as if a small bird had been trapped there and now found a window. When the rain passed, the sky opened again. The sun came low and kind. Neighbors left with soft hugs, with "See you Friday," with "My back will be happy when it sleeps." Kofi's hands were scratched. The rope had left a mark across his palm like a map. He looked at me and smiled with his whole face. We did it together, he said. We did, I answered. The words made a small room where our day could sit and rest. Days settled into their new rhythm. Kofi did not miss a Friday. He worked the river. He worked the school day each month. He came home with shoulders sore and a heart even. He did not chase quick, loud praise. He ate well. He slept well. Praise came anyway, in the soft way of neighbors who meet you with eyes that say, "We see you." That praise leaves no trouble behind. There were tests, small and honest. A man from a nearby village came through and spoke of a big naming ceremony happening soon, with drums and bright cloth and loud talk. "You must show yourself," he said to Kofi. "People forget quiet men." Kofi grinned, but small. "We will go," he said. "We will greet. We will dance a little. We will give what we set aside for joy, not what we need for our roof or school." He looked at me. "What do you think?" "I think we should bring a small gift for the baby and a bigger blessing for the parents," I said. "We will dance with our feet and keep our pockets wise." We did. The dance was sweet. The gift was simple and useful. We left before the drum called us to stay past our plan. We walked home under the stars, our steps light, our minds clear. It is possible to enjoy and still be steady. I had not always believed that. Now I learned with my own feet. The ledger grew. Chalk marks made a quiet staircase across the weeks. Amina guarded the book as if it were a sleeping child. On Wednesdays, she came to our table. We sipped tea. We spoke of small things. How the dry wind would come soon, how the market woman had new okra, how her mother's knee was less painful with a warm cloth. The ledger sat between us like a good guest who never took too much space. One afternoon, 2 months after the council, more or less. You do not count perfect when your mind is busy living. We walked to the school with a new cloth bag in my hands. Not the cloth bag from that party. This one was plain and clean, sewn by Amina from a piece of leftover fabric. The headmistress sat at her desk under a window that made the whole room look calm. Dust floated in the light like tiny fish in a quiet river. She counted our coins, slow and sure. She wrote our son's name with care. She did not make it longer with extra flourishes. She made it clear. "Kojo," she said, smiling up at him. "Your seat is kept." He smiled back. "That smile? There are many kinds of pride in the world. This one is a soft pride that does not step on anyone else's foot to make itself taller." I held it in my eyes as long as I could. On the way home, we stopped under the baobab. The elders were not in council. They were resting like roofs rest on good walls. We greeted them. They waved us over with their eyes. "How goes the plan?" asked Baba Kwaku. His voice was the same as always. That was a blessing. It meant we did not need a special tone to speak about our life. "The roof sings when it rains," I said. "The ledger grows. The school has our coin." I touched the cloth bag. "Thank you." "We only lifted what you already carried," said Mama Isi. "Now you lift for others when you can. This is how a village keeps its shape." Not perfect. True. I cleared my throat. There was an idea sitting in me like a bird that wanted to fly, but was polite enough to wait for the door. "May I share a small plan?" I asked. "Speak," she said. "At the next harvest dance, could we put a jar near the drums?" I asked. "Not to take joy away, to hold it. People who want to can drop a coin for the reading corner or a widow who needs a roof. We will label it simple and clear. Joy can laugh and save at the same time." The elders looked at each other. The man with the cane tapped the ground twice with the tip, a happy sound in his hand. "Let it be," he said. "We will not make joy a thief. We will make it a friend of tomorrow." We set that jar in our house first, by our door, a glass jar with a plain paper label in my neatest letters, "Tomorrow." Coins began to appear inside. Some were ours. Many were not. Every market day, the jar sounded like a small bell when someone dropped a coin without asking for thanks. We carried it to the school sometimes to a neighbor. It learned its path quickly. Life returned to its small beauties. The mango tree dropped fruit with soft thuds that woke the morning birds. Kojo read at the table with his tongue between his teeth, pulling words into the room like fish into a boat. Amina's laughter came across the fence like a warm cloth draped on tired shoulders. The goats shook their ears so that their tiny bells rang. We slept under new tin that sang in the rain and clicked as it cooled at night. There is music in repair. You hear it if you set your ear near. Kofi changed in ways that were not flashing banners but were easy to see when you lived beside him. He paused before quick yeses. He asked me before money left our house. If he forgot and his foot slid toward an old habit, he caught himself. Once he caught himself late, and I caught him too. I did not shout. I said, "Remember our counsel." He closed his eyes, breathed, and said, "Thank you." The old taste of apology had changed in his mouth. It tasted like hope now, not only like regret. At the next village gathering, not a big party, just an evening of songs and stories under the mango, we placed the jar. It did not make the music shy. It did not make the laughter quiet. It stood there like a small well near a road, useful if you were thirsty. Children dropped in coins one by one, proud to hear the sound. A man with much and a woman with little both gave the same way, with open fingers and a straight back. Before we went home that night, Kofi stood where the lantern light brushed his face and turned to me. He did not make a speech to the crowd. He made a promise to me that they could hear. "Amma," he said, "I trust your voice. When the world grows loud, remind me of what we built. Not with shouting. With that look you had under the baobab when you told the truth." I nodded. "I will," I said. "And you remind me that saving is not the only kind of living. Remind me to put my hand on the drum sometimes, even if the drum is quiet." We walked home with Kojo between us. He counted stars until he forgot the number and made a new number that suited his happiness. His hand was warm. He swung it. We let him pull us a little faster and then slow. Children teach the body softness that the mind struggles to teach. We passed the gourd on our table. The ribbon around its neck had gathered a little dust. I wiped it with a corner of my cloth. Kofi noticed and laughed. "You keep honor even for an empty thing," he said. "It is not empty," I said. "It holds our lesson. What is justice?" I asked myself more than once as we cooked, as we walked, as we sat. Is it a loud voice? A heavy stick? In our village, it often looks like hands, many hands doing small, firm tasks. It is a ledger kept clean. It is a counsel that listens with patience. It is a husband carrying timber and a wife holding the ladder. It is rice set quietly at a neighbor's gate. It is elders sitting where everyone can see them, so no one needs to guess where wisdom goes when the sun changes direction. Truth is like oil. It rises to the top, I said to myself sometimes as I stirred stew. It had risen here. And when spiders unite, they can tie down a lion. We had united. We had tied down a lion I had not known lived in our house. The lion of pride, the lion of hurry, the lion of silence that keeps hurt alive. We had not killed it. We had tied it. We had learned to live without its teeth at our heels. The roof kept off the rain. The school kept Kojo's name safe on a list. The ledger kept its gentle stares. The jar kept tomorrow in sight. And Kofi kept his word, not with one big act, but with many small ones. One evening, late, after a day of work and laughter and ordinary grace, the air turned cool. The wind brought the smell of wet earth from somewhere far. The lantern flickered. The house made that small settling sound it makes when it is pleased with itself. We sat outside, the three of us. Kojo pressed his ear against the tin pole and said he could hear the roof breathe. He might have been right. Kofi reached for my hand. His palm was rough. Mine was too. Our hands made a small shelter together. He said, "Do you remember the first night after the party? I felt like I was falling." "I remember," I said. "I am not falling now," he said softly. "I am learning to stand. And when I lean, I know where to lean. On you, on the council, on work, on truth." "Yes," I said. It was enough. It was more than enough. A drum sounded far off, a low, slow beat like a heart that has found its calm. The roof picked up a tiny echo, a friendly tap, as if to say, "We hear it too." The village hummed its night song. The sky showed the soft gleam of a moon preparing to rise. I breathed in and felt the breath go all the way to my feet. Justice had come to us, not on a horse, not with a shout, but on quiet feet, under a tree, in the voices of people who loved us enough to tell the truth. It held us while we mended. It set us down when we could walk. And it stayed near, not to control us, but to remind us what we had learned. I tell you this, yes? You who are listening now with your own heavy thing in your hand, because even an old river makes a new path when rain insists. If your gourd is light, if your heart is heavy, there is a tree somewhere, and under it there are people who will listen. Call them, sit, speak clearly. Let truth rise. Tie your spider threads. Then go home and do the small, faithful work until your roof sings and your child reads and your sleep is sweet.